So Zoom has become the crutch of online learning right now, and it didn't take very long before some really clever students came up with Beulr. So what Beulr is it is a web-based bot that students can sign up for, and it will attend their Zoom meetings for them. It will sign them in, it will put their picture and information up on the screen, have the camera off and the microphone off, and it will attend the Zoom meeting for them. So when you run your attendance report and you see people on screen, it shows that they were there, even though they don't have to be. So a lot of instructors are really worried about that. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways that you could combat Beulr and ghosting in general in your Zoom meetings, so that you don't have to worry about whether students are there or not. So to start off, before I get into how we combat it, we have to know our enemy, right? We have to understand how Beulr works and a few of the things that you may or may not know. Like I mentioned at the start of the video, at its basic, Beulr is a bot that students can plug their schedule into, and it will attend their Zoom sessions for them. When it attends those sessions, it automatically turns their camera and microphone off and puts up their information so that when you run the attendance report, it shows that they were there. And some of you may say, well, the simple answer here is make your students turn on your camera. Unfortunately, that's not going to work. Beulr has a feature that's going to launch in the near future that actually allows students to record a clip of them that will play on repeat throughout the meeting. And because we're all sitting in one spot, this is going to be a really effective way to have a camera on and look engaged. Okay, maybe we do Zoom polls and quick reactions and some of those other features embedded into Zoom. I hate to say it, those aren't going to work either. The team at Beulr is setting it up so their bots can auto-respond to anything that you prompt them to do within the Zoom software. So what you can do is put out a poll, and unfortunately, Beulr is going to answer it. How it chooses the options and the answers isn't fully clear yet, but it's going to have that technology, so that's not going to work either. Finally, you think, well, I'll just put them in breakout rooms. Well, the thing is, if you automatically assign your students to breakout rooms, if you use that setting, Beulr is going to go to the breakout room it's been assigned to. So that's one's not going to work either. Whew, all right, how do we combat this? What are we left to do? The first one is a really easy to implement solution. It's not perfect, but it's going to go a long way. And that is in your meeting settings, you're actually going to require it that only authenticated users can join your meetings. So if you go to your meeting setting here on your Zoom webpage, you can see that you have meetings over here. And then you go to one of these meetings and you click edit the meeting. In this case, this is a reoccurring meeting that I have scheduled throughout the whole semester, so I'm going to edit all occurrences. And when you go down here, you scroll all the way down. Under more options, make sure only authenticated users can join. So they have to sign into Zoom. Now, this isn't perfect, but what it does mean is that the way Beulr works is it creates a randomized account to join with their information. However, if you look at the attendance report and the emails, it will have their names on it, but the email and the account associated with it will be random. Now, students can put in their information and give Beulr access to their personal Zoom account. So yeah, students can do that. Whether they will or not sure, but this is your first step to combating it. It's not going to allow completely random ones in. It's going to have to force students to give Beulr their Zoom information in order to be able to join your meeting. So this is a great first step, easy to implement. That's kind of your first line of defense. Okay, the next option for combating Beulr actually is going to occur right here within Zoom, and it is a function of breakout rooms. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go to breakout rooms, click here, and then the important thing that you're going to want to do is actually choose right here. Let participants choose their room. So if you assign automatically or manually, Beulr is going to end up in a room. However, if you let the participants choose the room, by doing this, you tell students to go into a specific room. So maybe you say, I would like you to join your lecture group. So maybe you have reoccurring lecture groups that students work with those same students on a regular basis, and every student knows their number. So you're group 1, group 2, group 3. Students are supposed to join their correct breakout room. If I'm in group 1, I go to room 1. Now, why this is going to work for you is, one, Beulr, we're not sure exactly how it's going to choose the breakout room that it goes into, but the software required to have it choose a room is much more complex than just allowing it to move into a room when assigned. So when you assign it automatically or manually, it's going to go in because it has that functionality. However, letting it choose requires much more complex programming, and so that may or may not work. It may not be able to choose the Zoom room. So that's the first step. It might not even be able to choose one, and they're going to be left in the meeting room with you, and you'll be like, hey, Beulr, are you there? Beulr, Beulr, right? We all know what it's like. And if they're not there, then address that with the students. Send them the email to say like, hey, we went to breakout rooms and you weren't there. What's going on? They can only really get away with that once. Let's say it can choose the room. Well, how's it going to know what room to go to? Again, that will be really complex information that students and these developers would have to do to say, okay, if they assign breakout rooms, always go to breakout room number 3. That's really hard to do. And what if you change it? That's going to be a hard one. So even if it chooses the room, the likelihood of them choosing the right room they're supposed to be in is really challenging. So if a student ends up in a weird room and you go in there, check on them, and they don't respond, might be a bot. Reach out to them. So that's the second way here. A little bit of finesse with how we create breakout rooms can defend against Beulr. Okay, the next suggestion I have for you in ways to combat Beulr, and this is a great way to increase engagement by students as well, and just something I recommend for all classes, but it also has the benefit of defeating Beulr. Now, what this is that during class, you ask them to do either an entry ticket or an exit ticket or some sort of Google form at some point. And the way this works is that you will drop the link for that day in the chat. Students will have to click on it and fill it in. So 1, they have to be paying attention to chat. 2, they have to be there to click on it. And 3, they have to fill it out. And the really great thing about these forms is you could view the responses live. So I really recommend, if you are particularly worried about students ghosting your class where they show up, turn off their camera and their microphone, do an entry ticket. And sure, they can do that and then leave, but it means they have to engage. And if you're asking them questions, they're going to be more likely to be around to have their questions answered. So I encourage you, build out a template. And so what you can do is you could say the date is 10/15, and they could go through and say what their name is. You could ask, what administration questions do you have? What content questions do you have? And how are you feeling? And you could use these sort of things. So if you want these templates, I have them available at epichighered.com. So head on over there and look for the template pack. But you can just create this brand new each day. And then what you do is you go to send and you share a link. And there it is. You copy, paste that, drop it in the chat, and your students then have to fill that out. And the cool thing is you can monitor the responses live, answer all those questions as you go or address them, which is a really cool way to check in with your students in general. On the other side of that, we have the exit ticket template, and this is something you have them do at the end of it. So they have to at least be paying attention from the beginning to the end, and you could ask some pointed questions in these. But again, what you can do is create templates of these and copy them and create a new one at the start of each class. It'll take you 30 seconds. And at the end of a exit ticket, if you're really worried about students ghosting, and if you're really worried about things like Beulr, ask them a specific content check question, such as, I teach epidemiology, so what are the 5 steps in epidemiological research? Boom. They have to have been paying attention to answer that. So if you know what you're going to talk about, just throw in a content check question. May catch them or may not, but at least you know if they missed it, something went wrong. And again, I wouldn't make these really complicated. I'd make them really obvious, just so that if they were there, they would know it. Because that's what you're trying to find out here is, are your students ghosting your meeting or not? Okay, my last 2 suggestions for you aren't as practical as here's a step-by-step thing that you can do. So my 4th suggestion is make your classes dynamic. Make it so your students want to be there. And now that's hard, right? We all know that students have to take classes that they have no interest in, and that's a challenging thing to do. But the energy that you bring into your Zoom classroom and your meeting sessions goes a long way. And the other thing about this is if your classes are dynamic so that students never really know what's going to happen in terms of there's some rhythm to it, but are you going to do an activity? Are you going to give a demonstration? Are you going to ask polls? Are you going to do these different things? So if you kind of have an arsenal of ways that you can change up your class just a little bit, one, it keeps students more engaged and more interested in the class because they never really know what to expect. Whereas if they know that they're going to come in and you're just going to require them to turn on their cameras and you're going to talk to them for an hour and 15 minutes twice a week, that's really boring. Why not just wait for the replay? Or why not just have Beulr attend in your case and look over the PowerPoints? Like, that doesn't sound interesting. You as the instructor probably wouldn't want to do that. So make your classes interesting, make them engaging, make them dynamic. The dynamic part plays a role in combating Beulr especially, just because if they don't know what you're going to do, they can't rely on a bot that has a very limited scope of reactions. And my 5th and final tip here for you in terms of combating ghosting and combating Beulr is to remember that their learning is for them, not you. The learning they're doing in the class is for them, not for you. So who cares if they're there? I mean, obviously we would love our students to be there and we want to encourage them to be there and we hope they show up and engage. But you are teaching adults and adults can make their own decisions. And when they make their own decisions, they have to live with those repercussions. And using something like Beulr or ghosting your class by turning off their camera and microphone is probably going to come back and bite them in the butt. Why devote your energy to combating these things and trying to catch the 1 or 2 students who are doing this? Maybe 3 or 4, whatever. But why put your energy there? Put your energy into the students who show up, who are there, who are engaged, who you're going to make a difference by being engaged with them. Put your energy there. Stop worrying if their learning is looking the way you expect it to for them, or you need it to for them. That's a need for you, not for them. Their learning is for them. And just remember that. Put your energy and serve your students who are there. Don't put all the energy into the 1 or 2 that are trying to game the system. So a quick recap, right? Create an authentication wall for your meetings. That's the first way to combat it. 2, have students manually join Zoom rooms. 3, use some sort of form, like a Google form or exit ticket, entry ticket that does not exist within the Zoom platform. 4, have dynamic classes where students never know what to expect. It increases engagement, they want to be there, and the bot with its limited resources can't keep up. And 5, finally, their learning is for them, not for you. Put your energy into the students who are there and excited to be there. If you found this helpful, I would love it if you liked the video, subscribe to the channel. We do all sorts of videos and topics helping to support educators in creating innovative and inclusive classrooms. If that sounds like you, I encourage you to find Epic Higher Ed on Facebook. We have a private Facebook group that is committed to constructive conversations and fostering inclusion. And so I would love to have you be a part of it if that sounds like you. Thank you so much for watching. I encourage you to check out more of our resources over at epichighered.com, and we'll see you in the next video.